It's live now, Chris.
It's live.
Yeah, it's live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's live video. That's very, very different this evening. We are trying a little bit of an experiment. As you can see, both myself and Stephen on camera for the first time since our lockdown. So we're both here at once, live from our homes. And it's a bit of a double meaning to this evening's talk, which is, first of all, we wanted to just experiment because we're hoping to do a few live talks with basic inspirational people, with healers, spirit workers, to bring a bit of inspiration for everybody at home and knowledge. And we're very fortunate in our time in this work to have cross paths, networked with some very, very special people who do some wonderful work really from the heart. So we're hoping that they can join us at some point in the week, and they'll be discussing things, giving a bit of inspiration and helping people not only on the spiritual path, but life path at the minute, what's going on. This evening, with myself and Stephen, we just want to take this opportunity to speak about what we do at the Purple Mountain. We're going to be answering questions if there are any questions, and we're going to take it from there. As I said, it's a little bit of an experiment, this one, so it seems to be working quite well so far. So, Stephen.
Hi, I send you much love for myself. I'm not at the centre tonight. We're all at our own homes tonight. And yes, like Chris said, it's an experiment. I think it's a fantastic way to reach out to other people and to really share some of our teachings and philosophies, and to reach out on another platform, really. I mean, there's a lot of people that we know that can't always make it. They can't always come to the Purple Mountain. And I think it's a fantastic way, isn't it, Chris, to reach out to around the world. We've got friends from Canada, from Ireland, and really share some of our own experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a great time, very much positive out of what we're experiencing at this moment. It's a tremendous time to network, and one of the positives of technology that can reach right around the world.
Absolutely. I'd like to say for myself and from Chris and the Purple Mountain team, for everybody that supported us these past few weeks, actually a few years, those that have supported us at the Purple Mountain, and all the many videos that we have done. You know, we can't keep doing them unless your support, your lovely comments. If you've got any more ideas, we want to do so much, and we've got so many different topics and things that we want to do. Not only the workshops and the classes, the many topics that we want to do. So there's lots of opportunities, isn't there, Chris, for the future in relation to spiritual stuff.
We're going to keep it up.
Absolutely. I think what would be great, Chris, to really start us off is to really tell the audience really a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in the spiritual work, because I think sort of a person's story can really give people hope, because a lot of people look up to mediums and say, look how wonderful their link is, look what a wonderful healer that person is, but they forget the journey we've been through as well, how hard and difficult it's been for all of us. And I think it would be great if you sort of let everybody know a little bit about your role at the Purple Mountain, how you got involved. I think it's really interesting.
Okay, right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the spiritual movement as a whole, obviously we're based in Fleetwood, but I was brought up in Fleetwood. So my first experience was with a local church through a friend of mine. I've always had a bit of an inkling about the spirit world. Something that I found quite common is I would often, when I was young, have to sleep with the light on and things like that, of that nature, little inklings I always knew. And quite often in my life, I've struggled to find my place. I didn't feel my place was with certain people in certain situations, and I would go along with it quite happily many times, but I didn't feel completely whole. And what occurred is I met Stephen. We started a friendship, and along that path of friendship, which things were always perfect. You know, we liked to party at the time, and we were of the age in our 20s, and that's what we used to do. We used to go out in Blackpool, and a very typical story, really. So along this journey, Stephen asked me one day if I knew of any spiritualist churches, and I did. I knew one in Fleetwood that I'd been to, so we went there. And we started going every week, and life didn't change much. We still were doing what we were doing at the weekend, partying, we were working, but we would go every Tuesday, I think it was. Every Tuesday we would go, and it was actually predominantly me that got the messages, which used to sort of drive Stephen a little bit round the bend. He didn't get jealous or anything, but he just used to find it quite funny. And Stephen was very sceptical at the time, in a way, and so was I. We were finding our way, and I actually remember one week I got a message, and it was off my granddad. And he said, "Your friend needs to sort his tooth out." And at the time, it was Stephen, and he got the shock of his life.
I would, at that point, I was never skeptical again.
And that was the start of, there's something in this. So we would go along every week, and quite often, because we spent all our wages at the weekend, we wouldn't have a lot of money between us, but we'd always have the money when we got to the door. Sometimes it'd be a special event, and it'd be a couple of pounds each month. We'd always have the money, which just shows that if it's meant to be, it'll just flow. So anything in your life, not only spiritual, my advice is, if it's meant to be, it will just flow. So we started going to the church, and I think we were a few months in, to be fair, and a lady came to us, and she was sat in the row ahead, and she actually came to Stephen with a bit of a message, and she said, "I want to speak to you after." And I believe it was it great grandmother? Yeah. And the lady I'm speaking about is she was called Anita. And she came up, and she was very, very friendly, and she spoke to, well, I thought she was talking to Stephen, to be honest, at first. And Anita explained who she was, gave this bit of a message, and she said we run a spiritual circle at our home. We all come together, we sit for spirit, we meditate, and then we have tea and biscuits in the break, a bit of a chat. If you don't want to come, you don't have to come. When you do come, if you don't like it, you don't have to stay. It was really open. I'll always remember that, a really open invitation. So anyway, that Sunday, we decided to go. Well, Stephen did. I thought it was just Stephen that was invited, but that's the way I was back then. So anyway, I dropped Stephen off, and Anita's partner, Roy, they ran the circle together. And I always remember I took Stephen to the door, and Roy sort of said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Well, it was just Stephen." He said, no, it's both of you that's been invited. Oh, okay. And I always remember asking, "Well, how long are we going to be here tonight?" And he said, "Well, as long as it takes." Which of course is spot on. You can't put a time on a circle, really. So since then, I'll fast forward a little. We sat in this lovely circle, lovely energy in the home straight away. We took to Roy and Anita very quickly, felt very comfortable. No disrespect when I say this, I mean it in the most respectful way, but it felt like coming into your grandmother's home. That's how it felt. That's how I can compare it. And we both sort of needed it at the time. Life was very up and down, and it was a stability. And to sort of fast forward very quickly in the months ahead, certainly in the next 12 months to a little bit further, we both started deciding that we were more interested in what went on a Sunday night with this circle than what went on at weekend or Friday, Saturday. So it didn't happen overnight. And we were learning our lesson. This is why when we're looking for people in circles, we're not looking for people with halos, but you see the spirit within, the potential. Something that's always mentioned, and Anita picked up on that potential with the circle leader who was and is Malachi, who still continues to guide the Purple Mountain to this day. So we enjoyed this circle. A few weeks in, I believe, when we had the right people, and Anita went off into trance. She was a trance medium. And I remember thinking, I thought Roy said something at the beginning, but I wasn't really listening. And which is my fault. And then Anita went off into trance and deep breathing. I was like, oh my God, I was quite nervous. But it was a wonderful experience. And she had a teacher come through called Watonka. And he would come through with knowledge and he would answer questions. And it was just incredible. Very, very gentle. We would speak in the circle. We would both, probably me so a little bit more, would have great troubles in the years to come. And the circle would be a tremendous place to come and speak about your problems, speak about your worries, and there would be zero judgment. It would just be a place where you could leave it there and get on. Or if you didn't want to speak about it, then that's fine. You get on with your night. So things progressed from there. We started to get more and more comfortable, started to lessen the partying and more of the spiritual work. We then joined the other circle that Anita and Roy ran, which was on a Wednesday.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So then what occurred, as it can do in a lot of spiritual work, there was a bit of a split came. There was a bit of fractures already, as can happen in circles, not in ours, but in the current circle that had been running many years. So it was a strange time, but we kind of stuck with it. And I was having really difficult times. In quite honesty, I went through about 3 to 4 months where I didn't want to be here at all. I didn't want to be living. And I have to say, Roy and Anita were really good with me. You know, turn up in some right states sometimes, to be honest, and I'd get zero judgment. So that lessened, and I began to feel more comfortable. Something my parents' early doors they didn't know quite what I was going to, but they liked what they were seeing in me. So during the course, I'd sort of moved back home as well, which was better for me. So again, that sort of partying lifestyle with myself and Stephen took a back seat, and the spiritual work started to take over more. That meant that the work didn't just involve a Wednesday, but it started to take form in meditating outside of the circle, thinking about spiritual matters outside of the circle. And we used to get tons of signs all the time, and we'd still go to churches and such. So this work continued for, I don't know the timeline, I think we're around 2005, 2006. And I think we went till about 2011, Stephen.
That was I think the year Anita died, wasn't it, in 2011?
And Anita sadly passed to the spirit world, which is totally devastating for all of us in the circle, because not only we lost our friend, a great friend, but in a way we'd lost that communication with the spirit world, and we felt we lost a huge part of the circle. Okay. So it was a huge time of change, and Roy, who was obviously left now, where they were a team, Roy and Anita. Yeah. And Roy would always support the circle in a quieter way in them fashion. So he would support Anita, make sure she was well prepared for the work of the evening on a Wednesday night. And he would make the cups of tea, would do all the running around, make sure everything was set, the table was right, which is all important in spiritual work. You respect your room. A lot of healers or workers alike that might be watching this will understand that. Some called it holding space, preparing your sanctuary. So discipline, which was always spoken about from Malachi, having that discipline. You sit for spirit, you set that time, you're there every week. It's not something that you just do when you feel like it. Now, I'm not dictating that. I'm just talking the philosophies. A big philosophy that we learned through the circle was personal responsibility. which is you are responsible for your actions. You can't blame somebody else. So all these philosophies and teachings built up that we were able to gain from Watonka and Anita and Roy over the years. So we fast forward to 2011 when Anita sadly passed to the spirit world. And it was a time of change for the circle once again. Roy took the brave decision, I felt at the time, because we didn't know what was going to happen, to continue for 12 months. And in that 12 months, see what developed. Stephen was starting to develop in trance mediumship by then, and he would pick up quite a lot, whereas I would enjoy sitting in the energy. I was quite happy sending out my energy. I was comfortable in my role in the circle. And this is why I'd say to anybody, when you're going into a circle or starting a circle, try not to have any expectations. Just go in and send your love and sit in the energy, learn about who you are. And that's what I had to do first. I had to heal some of my wounds. And spirit will know what's right for you. They'll bring it right to you, right in front of you. Okay, so there's no need to seek it, if that makes sense, unless you strongly feel so. That's only our experience. So, during this 12 months, when we're having a bit of a break, we found ourselves going to another church, and completely by accident, we land ourselves in an awareness class. Roy went first, and Stephen and myself were in. And we met a lady called Kate. And Kate had just retired, I believe. And she'd waited a long part of her life to begin physical mediumship in a circle. And she'd started a physical room, which if anybody's watched our videos the last couple of nights, physical mediumship, like the old style seances in a way. And she'd set up a physical tent. And also she had a few sitters, and we basically struck a connection. Roy did, and we were invited. All the circle was invited at the time, but it ended up basically being Stephen, myself, and Jimmy, who was in the circle, and Roy as well. And we learned a lot. It was very foreign to us because we came in and everything's blacked out. We don't understand it, but we were going to understand. And this is why one lesson I've learned, and I've thought about it recently, we were so overwhelmed with the work we did, you can kind of start to think, not in an ego way, that you think, wow, it doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah.
Why would we go elsewhere? And never think that, because there's always something to be gained everywhere. And this is partly, I feel, we didn't understand it at the time. We were respectful, but I felt we thought in a way we were there and that this work was there, which was totally wrong. But anyway, we learned a ton from that circle, and we started doing that work in our circle, if that makes sense, in blacked out conditions. And we started to seem to have a bit more focus. We were moving forward slowly. There would be a small break in the circle because not everybody understood, not everybody was ready. And a lot of people found it difficult, the change. Change can never be easy for some people. So during the course of that, Stephen started to go into trance. Now, if anybody's watched Stephen demonstrate or he's watched a video, you'll see he goes into trance in about a minute. Well, we used to sit for an hour before anything.
You were very patient in those days.
Yeah, and you're lucky if anything did happen after an hour. But we were really happy to sit because something was going on, something was happening. And this is what it's about in this work. You can sit for years and nothing happens, but you are building up that energy. Anyway, it's fantastic. And we were seeing things and things were starting to move slowly. And I believe, I don't have the exact date, it was in April of the next year that Stephen began to go off into full trance. And he'd gone up into trance before for some other work, but this was full trance now. And it was Albert who spoke, and we won't mess around. It was Albert Einstein. That's who spoke. And we were sort of blown away, but at the same time, he was very strict with us. And it was there's work to do. Pull your socks up and let's get going. There's things that need to change. And always with Spirit, he gave us the option. Do you want to do this work? How do you want to move forward? And it was tough for some more than others, but I've been asked to talk about my experience, and I loved every second of it. I just loved the spiritual. I still do. That's why I'm here. And I was like, wow, this is great. This is something, we're moving forward. And I have to say, Roy was the same and Stephen was the same, even though he wasn't there. We told him after. Anyway, so I don't want to go too much into Stephen's bit in case, but obviously our stories cross a lot.
Very much so.
Yeah. So moving forward, we start to go into physical mediumship, and we sit in a circle, and from that circle it grows. Now, some didn't enjoy the physical mediumship. As I said, there was a bit of a split in the circle. So Albert had a bit of a meeting. We had what we call honesty night, which we're all like, we dread honesty nights. But they're important in the circle because you've got to have honesty. If somebody's not happy about something, it's got to come out. Otherwise, it'll just sit on the underbelly and it'll wreck the circle.
Spot on.
So it was decided that we would have a Tuesday sitting, and that would be for the physical mediumship, and the Wednesday would kind of remain in the way it had done before, so that would please everyone. Okay, and that's the way we move forward. So now we've gone from one night to 2 nights a week. Things are growing. So we fast forward again, and we were getting quite a lot of information off Albert as we moved forward, and we were recording everything. So we decided it was important for Stephen to listen back to the recordings. And there was that much being said sometimes, it sort of boggled our heads. So we wanted to listen to it back. So we met at Roy's home, where the circle was still run. And I think it was like a Wednesday morning. And anyway, we would listen back to the tape, cup of tea, and have a chat. And this lasted about 2 weeks when Stephen started going off into trance. And so Albert would speak, and these would become like meeting days. And at the time, it was myself, Stephen, one of the founder members of the Einstein Initiative, inactive now, Nikki, and also Roy. And so all this information come forward then. And we were given options of basically, how far do you want to take this work? Do you want to make a change? Do you really want to do something here? And we all said yes. We were all 4 of us, at that point, really enthusiastic. So he suggested building a website. That was the first one, which seemed like a mountain to us. And he would set us individual tasks, such as he would say to Stephen, write a page about meditation. Roy, can you write a page about protection? And we built all this information, and a website was built, in short. Then I'll just fast track a little bit forward. By then, on my journey, I'm still sending energy. I'm experiencing a lot more, picking up a lot more at this point, but still really enjoying things. And what happened after that is that he started mentioning, Albert, about having a centre. And at the time in the circle, I believe it was in the circle, we came up with a name. That's first of all. Okay. And we were all asked to put suggestions in a tin. And it was Stephen's that was popped out.
Yay!
And out pops out the Purple Mountain. And we're all like, oh my God, who would call a centre that? I have to say, that's what we all thought at the time. You can't imagine it being any different. Okay, so out comes this. So in the meanwhile, back to the Tuesdays, the physical work. And by some Tuesdays, there might be 3 of us, there might be 4 of us. The physical's quite hard to get permanent sitters because it's intense work. And we were swapping around in the cabinet and experimenting. And Albert asked me to go in the cabinet. And this is how spirit worked, very gently, you see. So I started feeling things around my throat, feeling really intense, a feeling that I've not felt before. And little did I know, but I'd been chosen in a way to do some of the physical work that spirit felt I was right. I feel that I had the right discipline. I was in the right place to move forward. So in basics, I started developing in physical mediumship, and very, very slowly into trance mediumship. Back to the Purple Mountain, you can see how the work builds now. We're going from one day, and we're very, very busy, so this is every day. And Stephen was working at the time, and so was I. And so 2 nights a week, plus we had meetings. And it was a local hotel that we'd arranged, first of all, to be the Purple Mountain, which maybe not many of our Purple Mountaineers will know that. And it was actually, I won't name it, but it was a little hotel on the front here at Fleetwood. We would arrange to use a room and do a bit of work in the room for the lady, and she would be able to do food and make some profit out of it, which was needed at the time. So Spirit were quite happy with it. This time Nikki was involved and another lady as well, and we were bowling along quite happily. And unexpectedly, or expectedly, who knows, at the time the lady who owned the hotel pulled out. So that was the end of that. But plan B basically was that there was what we called an outbuilding at the back of Roy's home that had been used prior and that was in good condition and that were able to adapt, and that would become the Purple Mountain. Every week, more meetings, which were great. I can't tell you, the level of enthusiasm was just through the roof. We couldn't believe it. More information. Spirits tried to start building our confidence in teaching. They'd give us little presentations to do, which all makes sense now. We thought at the time, oh my God, why am I doing this? Presentations in the circle and building up our confidence. And I'm sure if Roy was here or Jimmy, they'd tell you this. They didn't want to get up and talk in front of anybody, but they did it in the end. They really did, which is something they should be proud of. They overcame that fear. And certainly for Roy, because he was always happy to be in the background and he was slowly being edged to the front. Okay, so the Purple Mountain starts, and by then the circles are still running, very much so. Stephen's still working with Albert, amongst many others. Healers are starting to speak now, talking about trance healing and all sorts that's occurring. I started to develop in trance. And it seemed to be the link with many of the Chinese, Japanese vibration. And one of the first to speak through me, I believe, was quite strongly. It was Lao.
Lao, yeah.
Lao was an energy worker. And things would progress from there. And I believe before the Purple Mountain opened, because it took a while to get it off, get things sorted. We were asked to do a first public trance demonstration with myself and Stephen, and it'd be in Roy's front room, which is a big room. But I can tell you, on the night, this room was absolutely packed.
I think we had about 35 people in there, didn't we?
And we were upstairs, and Stephen said, "I'm really nervous." I said, "Well, it's too late now." There's all these people, and if you'd have seen these people, they're all squashed in this room, and some of them didn't look the happiest that they're stuck in this room. But all I can tell you is we had a fantastic night, and by the end of it, everybody in that room was totally captivated in what occurred, and the energy was fantastic. We had a really good night, which was repeated again, and then when we started the Purple Mountain, they would become trance services, and we still have recordings actually, which maybe we'll share with you at some point from those nights. Really special nights they were. So got back to my journey in the Purple Mountain, moving along. Albert was slowly, because he would see the potential in all of us, and it wasn't just me but everybody would talk to, but just as I've been asked about my journey. So he would start to encourage me on the mediumship side. And one of the most important lessons I learned in clairvoyance straight away was I used to watch Stephen's services, and I used to think, well, if I ever wanted to work mediumistically, I'd want to work that way. And it wasn't in a jealous way I meant that. It was in a respect, because for me, the evidence had to be right, had to be clear. I wanted to be clear if I ever worked that way, and that's what I mean. But one of the biggest lessons I learned, and I hope that everybody watching can take from this, is I was never going to work that way. I was going to work the way I was. Each of us are unique, so nobody works the same. And very quickly things developed, using cards, and then my first service that was actually in Preston. Met some lovely people, and from then on, I remember meditating before the service, and sat there meditating, saying, right, I'm going to do this once, and if it doesn't work out, I'm never going to do it again. Anyway, it did work out, and I've never stopped since. And I love one of the best bits, and I'm sure Stephen will agree, with traveling around doing services, is the people you meet. It's wonderful working with spirits, and honor working with spirit and hand in hand. But you meet some great people, lovely people who you give messages to, people who run these places, spiritual sanctuary, not for anything more than the love of spirit. Okay, so we're moving along with that. The Purple Mountain works coming along, more people joining, including my mum, Irene, and Margaret, who we know, and countless other names that I could mention. And the Purple Mountain starts to grow and grow, and perhaps grow faster in the years to come than any of us could imagine. And we'd have meetings, and every time, the only way I can explain it is, if our expectation was there and Albert had come through with that up there, and we go, oh my God, we'd call it like a bombshell. We said, what bombshell is he going to drop on us? But every time it worked out, and his famous saying is, he's never lost a wager yet, and he's quite right, he hasn't. So it always works out. On our Thursday service, anybody who's visited over the years, we used to just have a clairvoyant service, very typical. And he said, why not have an open circle? And we were like, no, it won't work. And moving the chairs around, there's not enough room, because anybody who's never been to the Purple Mountain, we seat about 30 and we're full. But it did work out. And it always goes that way. It always works out. We made many changes, and many people gave input in many ways that we could only thank them for. Everybody who's ever been involved with the Purple Mountain, from start to finish, whether it's been a week, a day, or a year, they're all the building blocks. They've all given their energy, and that's really important. And really, the building's irrelevant. It's the energy that sits within the building.
Absolutely.
Would you agree? So, during the course of it, personally, I talked about my personal journey. I start to discover more about myself, but in the spiritual work, you always go deeper and deeper. And you start to not only see things that you like about yourself, but you start to see more that you don't like, that you want to get rid of. And it's going to use a word that you can't use then, but it's basically, you've got to look at your crap and get rid of it where you can, when you're ready to release it. And a lot of this work, in my humble opinion, if somebody comes up to me and asks now, I want to be a medium, I want to work with spirit, so well, learn about yourself. Go and learn about yourself and meditate and balance yourself. And then when you're ready, it will be there 100%. I'm still working on myself today. We both are. Because nobody's perfect. That's the first thing. And you know, there's nobody I've met yet. A few that are close to the peak of the mountain, but I've not met anybody who's on top of that mountain just yet, you know. So fast forward to today, myself and Stephen, few changes which I won't go into, few bumps along the road with a few people, which not everybody's always ready, and they shouldn't be judged for that. It can be hard, and myself and Stephen have been through times where we've been angry, frustrated with people's behavior, but something that I think we both learned is that every experience is for a reason. And I was talking today about it and saying, good or bad, I'm grateful for everybody that I've come across in my life, because it's all taught me things. It teaches you to be more tolerant, to be more patient, to be more forgiving, and with each step you're gaining more and more enlightenment. So to this day, we still move forward, we still speak with Albert. There are many people involved. The founder members now consist of Stephen, myself, Margaret, Irene, and also Elizabeth as well, who joined us, I believe about 3 years ago now, about 3. Forgive me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth. But so the founder members still continue to grow. And the idea being at the Purple Mountain that when myself and Stephen, through the course of the years, had to, for the survival of the Purple Mountain, take it on. I don't want to go too deep into that. I think most people know the story. So we are the owners. But what we hope is in the years to come, when we're in spirit, that we won't be leaving it to family members, this Purple Mountain. We want to leave it to the future founder members, so it can always be what it is. You know, Stephen works very hard. He puts together a lot of the manuals. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. I know Margaret does a lot of the typing up, and everybody does their bit, and everybody has slowly come in and does more and more. The last 2 years have been very focused on healing, hugely. And we're all asked to step up to the plate in different ways. We've met some wonderful people who come to the Purple Mountain. It's just amazing how things come about all the time. Experiences just come every moment. And we still run services on a Thursday and Friday. We now have a healing clinic, which really, although we've all been part of, that Stephen's been a big part of that. We have a shop on Fleetwood Market. And it came a crossroads when I left my job and became the reader on that market and took on some responsibilities, ordering stock and things like this. We've had to learn a lot of things. We've had to learn how to be, although in a way the spirit work flowed, we've had to learn about business, and we've had to learn how to manage things. So we've had to learn a lot of skills along the way. But it's been a wonderful journey. I find myself now living in the Purple Mountain, in a little flat at the top of the house. Well, downstairs we have a circle room, a healing clinic. We run services on a Thursday and a Friday. The Thursday service is clairvoyance in an open circle, and the Friday is trance mediumship, and which has been focused on trance healing quite a lot. We also run classes, awareness classes, crystal classes. We just continue to move forward all the time. And I think that's the roundabout, the shortest version of my journey I can give. But work still continues today. I've used this time that we're in now to continue my spiritual work, but also catch up, because everything in this work's balance. And although we've enjoyed every minute, the past certainly the past 4 years, we've not stopped. And you've got to always have balance in your life where you're taking time to rest and recuperate, because this works for a lifetime. And we certainly hope to be doing it to about 100, would you say?
Maybe not to 100.
101. And then we'll get on to whoever's the next generation. We'll come round and impress them with some ideas. So that's my journey, and it's basically from being in a place when I began the circle. I didn't really want to be on this earth. I was unhappy and confused, and the spiritual work has brought me a lot of happiness. Still on that journey today. Things don't just go away like that. Every day you're going to face those obstacles, but quickly what I'm learning is how things come back very quickly to you. So, you know, try and live the practice. That's the hard thing sometimes, because we all have feelings, frustrations, goes through ups and downs. But when we start to recognize in life that some obstacles are brought to us for a reason and a purpose, then we start to learn the lesson. So
that's very interesting, that, Chris. I think everybody's found that very interesting. I mean, I'm not going to dwell too much. I mean, a lot of my spiritual path has been interwoven with yours. We still work very closely together in terms of our spiritual work. And I think the only thing I can really add on for myself is how I developed. I think really in the beginning of your sort of talk there, Chris, I think what was really fundamental is the importance of home circles and how important they are. I'm not dismissing the work, I mean, we run a lot of awareness classes, development classes, but they're not the same to home circles. Home circles, I mean, we've sat in a home circle for 15 years. And I think you're right. You know, the first thing I learned very early on is just about sitting in that energy. Me and you never had an intention to become a medium, a trance medium.
No, absolutely not.
We were just happy, just sitting. And I remember when I saw Anita going off in trance for the first time, I was nearly on your knee because I was like, what's going on here? I was absolutely frightened. And but then within 2 minutes I felt like I'm come home. It was just felt so natural to me, and for me that was the beginning of a fantastic journey. And it was very sad when Anita died, and I was developing, as you know, Chris, in trance, and my work actually began in rescue work, and we're not going to go dwell too much on that tonight.
Good topic to do. We might do a video.
Yeah. We might do a video on rescue work. So that's how I started off with my spiritual work. And then when Anita died, I then, like Chris said, we went to a church, and at this church, Chris and Roy were met this Kate, but then I stayed, and I think I joined the awareness class with Kath Noonan. Those who know Kath Noonan, I would say that she was my second guru. My first guru was Anita, and Kath Noonan, bless her, a fantastic teacher, and she, with her lot of her knowledge, and we did a lot of experiments, and that's how I sort of dabbled into sort of messages. And I went with another upcoming medium, and we went to Barrow and Cleveland, Blackpool, Fleetwood, and we did services, and that's how I practiced my mediumship. And I never look back. I absolutely love it. But I think the only thing over the past maybe 5 years, my trance has changed a lot, because as I'm working on myself more, that gives the ability of other highly enlightened spirits to work through me. You know, you're getting rid of the blockages, you're getting rid of the crap, you say, you know, you're getting rid of the distortions, the illusions that you create since you're a child, and you take on in your adult life, and then you've got to unprogram, uncondition all those things, because all those distortions create blockages for your link with spirit, don't it? That's why some people, I never say some mediums are better than others. I always say some communication stronger than others, and I think the stronger the communication, the more those blockages are gone. More, you know, the more you work on yourself, the stronger the link you have.
Exactly. It's always been there. It's like if you imagine all brambles and trees in the road, and you've got to clear your road. And once you clear the road, you'll be able to see it clearer. So that it's not that there isn't a link with spirit with everyone. It's not that spirit are around everyone. It's we block it with all the stuff that goes on here in the mind, our emotions, what we're going through in life. We can build a wall up. And that wall isn't knocked down overnight. You take it down brick by brick.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I started off doing didn't I, at the market, when we started off with the market in Fleetwood Market. We've still got a little shop there, and it was myself and Jimmy that started off. I started off doing the readings there. I was very, very lucky that
in the early days, before it wasn't luxurious then, it was just a simple tile floor and a little thin curtain that somebody gave us.
Absolutely. And it was we used to do reading after reading on a Tuesday and a Thursday and a Friday, and it was brilliant. It was another form of work, but I think it's great that Spirit have always got something else installed for you as you progress. And then we started a healing clinic. The healing clinic for me is what I run with a team of therapists at the Purple Mountain, and we open Tuesdays, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and we do numerous amount of healing treatments with fantastic results, haven't we? They're fantastic. Excellent. And we run with the Mahana healing on a Sunday night, and then we've got the Kaihana on a Monday night, and everything. The beauty of doing trance work is how spirit teachers and the healers can help us and teach us, and all the healing treatments that they've taught us. And I think it's absolutely fantastic work. A lot of people are on tonight. that have experienced auric healing, chakra touch. They are not easy treatments to go through, but they are absolutely fantastic.
Nothing is. You find it that the harder the work, the bigger the reward at the end. That's yeah.
Yeah. So what I found that over the past 2 years is that I sort of got the impression with my team in Spirit that if I wanted to go further and if I wanted to progress more, that I'm needing to really look within and really look at my past, look at my childhood, things that have held me back for so long, look at my weaknesses, look at my fears. And that was incredibly hard for me personally. I feel that you did a lot of that work, Chris, in the very early day when Roy Anita was there. You worked a lot of your insecurities and your fears there. And I feel that I'm still going through a lot of that self-discovery, that self-awakening and working on myself. And it's not been easy. It's been incredibly difficult, incredibly hard. But hopefully, as I'm working on myself more, that I'll strengthen my link with Spirit and my own spirit as well. And I think the healing it wasn't, and you remember this, don't you, Chris, that healing wasn't really something that I was very interested in, if I could say that in the very beginning.
And I was going to mention this of I don't know if it still happens today, but sometimes you will speak with people and you'll say, "Oh, I think you could be involved in healing," and they sort of go, "Oh, well, but all this." That's what it is, healing, and there's so many different facets to it. I mean, in a sense, giving a reading is healing. All this work is about healing ourselves, healing other people, healing where we live, remembering who we are. But I can remember those thoughts that Stephen mentioned about the healing, and it's like something that grew and grew and grew until it completely encompassed everything we do.
Absolutely, and it's become an integral part. And I believe what's going on in the world today with the world's issues, we need more healers. And I think we really need to work on ourselves. And I think if every single one of us can work on ourselves through self-healing, we can then help change the world. I think there's too many of us that expect everybody else to change, and we're not looking in the mirror ourselves. And that's why I think at the Purple Mountain, we are not dismissing other churches and the centers. We all do our work in our own way, but we have created, with the help of Spirit, a very special sacred space where people can come without the judgment, without being judged. And it's not just about giving messages. I think that's what I've really learned. I don't know about you, Chris, that it's not just about receiving a message from your loved one. It's much more. It's about self-healing, physical, trance, psychic art, spiritual art, trance healing. There's so many different facets of spiritual work, not just getting a message from Spirit, crystal healing, sound therapy. It can go on and on and on. That's the beauty of the spiritual work, isn't it?
You develop it in yourself in the simplest of forms. If you never walked into a spiritualist church ever, and you sat at home and you just meditated and sent out your energy and developed in your own way, that is a fantastic start. And if everybody could incorporate meditation, that would be fantastic. They should bring it into schools.
But there's only one other thing. I think the main thing that I think we can all say we're extremely passionate about everything, aren't we? But I think I'm very passionate about teaching. I love the teaching side of the feeling you get when you try to inspire other people. And I love the look and how you can inspire people in workshops and classes, how they develop like a flower. And I think it's wonderful to see. And that's what the Purple Mountain is a space where people can come, get what they need and take what they need and to take it to the world. And I think we need more places.
That's what nothing should be coveted, really, or hidden away. Everything has to be shared.
But then on the physical sense, like Chris said, it's not all roses. People turn up to services and or classes and workshops. There's a lot of behind scenes. We laugh about it. We've got a lot of bickering, a lot of arguing, and then people coming in smiling. But I think that's the human side. I think that makes us a very, very human in that regard. But I love every minute. And sometimes my partner has to draw me back, Adam, and because we've got to have that little bit of balance. It can't just be everything spiritual and not that physical. But
I think something interesting, sorry, Stephen, is to mention about your journey as well, is especially with the teaching side, is you went to university. And I personally feel, although in a way the benefits after, but I think that was for a reason. And certainly when you came out with a lot of them sort of presentation skills and skills you were able to gain through that were added to what we were doing in the teaching side. So you sort of led the way because you already were halfway there.
Absolutely, and I believe you should never question. You know, sometimes you think, why am I on this pathway? And I think sometimes you can't over question things. And I think I look back and think, was it a waste of 3-4 years? And I don't think it was. You know, even though I'm not fulfilling what I was destined to do in my course and my degree, what I learned is greatly being utilized in the Purple Mountain. You know, the academic side, the manuals, and the other side that needs pulling together and pushing together. It's been fantastic. I've loved, and hopefully we'll have another 30-40 years.
Well, this is what it shows on the journey as well. It's not easy for anybody. I can remember a time when Stephen would be asked to get up in an open circle and he'd screw himself up like a hedgehog or something, and he wouldn't be able to speak, and he couldn't put his words together. And
you can't put me up now.
Yeah, that's it now. You know what created.
So anyway, so there's a little bit about us. I think I mean, we're nearly over an hour in a minute. I think what we'll do quickly, Chris, I think a lot of people that we know come to the centre, they come to the workshops, we do lots of courses. If it's a reading, if it's a class, if it's a workshop, even if it's having a visit, having a coffee with us at Fleetwood Market on a Tuesday morning, there's different facets to our organisation, I think. And also, I know Debs is watching tonight. We've been doing lots of mind, body, and spirit events as well.
Which they've been a huge part for the last couple of years.
But I think what would be great, Chris, if we go through, I think there's 12 of our, what we promote.
Okay.
What we promote, and it's always
Can I go first?
Do you want to go first? No, I'll go first, Chris. I've got the list
here. Because I bet you've got written down. That's why I've not got written down.
I think what I'll do, I'll read one out, and then you can sort you can sort of explain what that philosophy is and why we teach that philosophy at the centres. The first one is to promote the importance of spiritual and physical healing and all its benefits.
Yeah, that's to me healing. What we spoke of, the importance of self-healing and the importance of healing each other and understanding the power that can give, the power it can give to let ourselves be free, to release ourselves from being held back from pain, and to start healing and respecting our bodies. We've spoken a lot about the spiritual, but what is equally important is we need this vessel, this temple that we sit in. This physical body to live this life, and to live it well, we need it to be in good working order. And so many of us, and I've been there as well, we can punish ourselves, and we punish ourselves through doing a job that, and we go in every day and we're damaging our back, damaging our body, and or we might be doing things that damage our body, what we eat. All these different things, and we all have a vice. You know, we all do.
Too many, Chris. Too many. I think also, sorry to interrupt you there, but I think too many mediums, I feel, in the past have gone to spirit before their time, and I think your body is thy temple, and I think healing should be in the forefront of anybody that wants to work with spirit. Is working on yourself,
you've got.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Because very simply, you're in a position in any spiritual work. It's a very important one, and you can't be unloading your stuff on somebody else, and that is the danger if you've not healed your wounds. I've actually witnessed people giving messages that are for them, and the simple reason they call it mirroring. And what you're doing is you are mirroring your own things that you've not dealt with or overcome, and that can cause an imbalance. And that's why you have to be so balanced in this work. Your stuff has to go to one side for the moment while you do it. And that's why healing is very, very important indeed.
Absolutely. So another thing that we promote here at the centre, everybody that's watching tonight, is we promote Mahana healing, Kaihana healing, and we also promote self-healing practices. Now, Mahana, obviously, we can't go too deep with it. It will take hours to talk about what Mahana. Mahana was a healer, a spiritual healer that lived on the earth many millions of years ago. Now you can throw your history books in the bin. The history, it was a time, people often call it the golden era. It was a time of true peace, prosperity, and love. And that is what we're trying to promote. We're trying to promote to lift the vibrations of the earth. And that's why healing, working on yourself, if you can work on yourself, you lift the vibrations around you. And that's like a flame. That love and that light was spread. So Mahana was part of a group of people called the Baku, and Mahana was in partnership with Kaihana. So Kaihana and Mahana were partners. Kaihana is a self-healing practice about working on yourself, and Mahana is about becoming a healer. And I think the Baku people could communicate with trees, couldn't they, Chris? They could speak to animals. They had they lived in a true spiritual vibration on the earth. And unfortunately,
when everything was in harmony, everything was in harmony. Yeah, plant life, everything, all as one.
So, and that's what we tried to promote, Mahana and Kaihana, so that we are able to use and apply and evolve sort of those self-healing practices, so that we can enlighten ourselves, so that our light will expand and our light will shine, and I think is incredibly worked. So that's another thing that we promote at the Purple Mountain. And now Chris can answer the next one: to promote self-awareness and self-development through awakening the spirit within. So why do you think that's important, Chris?
Well, awakening is very important, especially at this moment in time. It's basically seeing past the illusion that we think life is every day. And many of us are brought up, go to school, get your qualifications, go to work, get a mortgage, you get married, and so many of the things we see are who we are. So many people have had the creativity squashed during their early years, and that should be brought out. That awakening is about the creativity within us, that we all have something to give. We're all unique, special in our own way. And it's about awakening that. How many people, one of the first things I do is within an awareness class, I'll go around and say, write 5 things on a piece of paper that you like about yourself. Now, if I ask the other way, 5 things you don't like, they'll do it every day of the week. But 5 things they like about themselves, they struggle. And I feel we've been so pushed down not to give self-love to ourselves and appreciation. And that's one of the bits: start loving ourselves, and then we start opening up and realizing our potential, realizing what, and we call it an awakening because you are awakening from a very long sleep. You start to discover and you start to see things differently in the world around you. And the first thing that will hit you in any spiritual awakening for me is your conscious. That's what hits you first of all. You start to see, and you start to see things a little bit differently. You might have a disagreement with somebody, and where you might walk away and go, yeah, whatever, you'll start to go home and go, really feel I need to sort that out with that person because it's bothering me, it's sticking in me. You'll feel it grow within you, and you start to have more experiences. And I must add, awakening isn't always about developing as a medium. It's you awaken for you first of all, to realize who you are, why you've come here, and why you're on this pathway. It's so important in whatever you do in life. And what we're seeing at the moment on this earth, I don't want to go into it too deep, but I've got to tie it in, is a huge awakening. It's a huge opportunity for everybody to really start seeing who we really are and why we're really here.
I think you're spot on. Just to add a little bit more on that, very, very simply, is we teach in everything that we do in circles, you are a spirit in a physical body. You are to experience a physical life. It is in those experiences that will give you the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding. You need, like you said, you need to first understand who you are. What is your true purpose? Why have you reincarnated on the earth? They're the things that you need to ask yourself first, if that makes sense. And that's what something, you know, we can't dictate that to somebody. And that's interesting. A lot of people say, oh, am I on the right path? Well, what do you think? Are you on the right path? That's what I want to ask people. We know when they ask that.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at the next one there, Chris. We promote the importance of spiritual protection and the energies of light and dark. Now, this is going to be very controversial.
Oh, God, I always get the controversial questions. The energies of light and dark, very simple, because my feeling is, as we're talking here, I'm going to do a video on this. We're going to do a couple of videos on it, and possibly we might bring other people in. But there is light and dark here on the earth plane. You can see it, okay? I must first explain, when we say dark, there is always a flicker of light within everyone, okay? So there's no complete darkness, but it is the same in the spirit world. There are different vibrations. There is light and dark. This is why one of the biggest things we promote, which is extremely controversial in the spiritual movement, but all I can say is we follow what we're speaking about now, and spiritual protection is not only important, but it's a fundamental. And I remember in the early days, I was speaking to a very well respected medium who still visits the Purple Mountain now, and this person said to me, if somebody doesn't believe in light and dark, walk away from them, because they don't know what they're talking about. Now, that's not for me to say. I've not said they don't know what they're talking about. I don't want to get in trouble. All I can say is, this is what we promote here. There is light and dark on the earth plane and in the spirit world. It's very important to have that protection at all times, so you know who you're working with. Because I'm not sure if this ties in with awareness, Stephen, or not. But the other part of that is always know who you're working with as well.
That's a spot on. I think the greatest protection that you will ever need is your own spiritual light. And again, if you work on yourself, that will protect you. Your own light will protect you.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of us, which is very important, and they certainly add to our protection, crystals, smudging, all these things we can do. But your greatest protection, like Stephen said, is your light within, keeping your vibrations high. And one of the ways you can do that, meditation.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at the next one. So another thing that we promote here at the Purple Mountain is to promote simple spiritual truths such as reincarnation, universal law, and soul partner. So I'll do that, and then you can add anything. So it's something that me and Chris and the other teachers are extremely passionate about, and I really believe that when you learn, when you sit with spirit, when you sit in a home circle, or you sit in an awareness class, it's not just simply about linking in with spirit. You've got to link in with your own spirit, but also I think what is the foundations of what I call not a medium, but a spirit worker is somebody that's got a collective understanding about the simple spiritual truths, such as universal law, karmic law, also reincarnation, soul partners. These are that every person that wants to work with spirit should have a good foundation over, and that's something that we teach. And we're very lucky that a lot of our teachers, such as Little Raven, Precaius, Albert, they've spoken in great lengths, haven't they, Chris, on our trance nights and our circle nights, and where we are all being given the opportunity to ask questions. I mean, those that have tuned in on our physical nights, trance nights, it's a fantastic opportunity to ask spirit anything you want. And it's so anybody that wants to sort of go down that spiritual path, it's great to learn and read and study and gain that knowledge, if that makes sense. I don't know if I've missed anything off there, Chris.
No, that's very good. And just to pick up on the studying part is, I mean, when we were first brought into this work, we were sort of taught for the right reasons, not to go to books, not to go anywhere near books, and to pick up from spirit and through conversation and learn that way. But I feel, I wouldn't say we've changed it, we've modernized it over the years, because we found there's so many teachings, and it goes back to what I said at the beginning, nobody is better than anybody. We've all got something to learn from each other. And something we've learned, and I know the spirit world promote now, who we work with, or who work with us, is that you can read a book and you might only find one chapter of that book inspirational, but it is worth reading, one line. So if you are drawn to read a book, you read that book. Don't let anybody tell you different, okay? Because it might have something in there that's going to help you.
So let's have a look at the next one. To promote spiritual knowledge by sharing, guiding, teaching, and inspiring others. Just before Chris talks on that, I think Albert did say to us a very long time ago that something that we as teachers at the Purple Mountain, it's not our job to dictate, to judge anybody. Our job is for us to create a sacred space, for the student to sit in that sacred space, in that energy, and for them to awaken themselves, to fulfill their gift, to open up and to see the truth and the light and the love within their own spirit. So in a way, a teacher will tell you where to go, but not allow them to see, if that makes sense. So I don't know.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's we're not here to dictate, tell anybody what to think. I know personally when we do classes, or one of the first things I'll open an awareness class is, this is what we teach here. Please take it away, rip it apart, question it, do that. I wouldn't expect any less. Find your truth in it. Maybe again, when they're at the class, they might take only a couple of the teachings, but that's fine. That's what's right for them, and nobody should be judged for that. And really, that word teaching, we use it because it's the only one available to us, but really it's to guide. So we're just gently saying, it's not saying you should look over there, but more saying to our friends, maybe you should look over there, you might find what you're looking for. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. And so you hit the nail on the head. Because this work doesn't have rules. Nobody should ever be dictated to, don't do this, don't do that. You know, it's not the way it works. And really, a good bit of advice, if you feel it's right, you stand by your convictions, because in any form of work, you will find yourself just you and spirit. Then what are you going to do? You're going to follow your feelings. So it's good to listen to people, good to listen to each other, but don't let anybody dictate to you.
I think it's very hard. I mean, I've learned over the years, even in the healing clinic, is trying to instill people and try to teach people to recognize their own power, to recognize their own worth, for people to trust in their own intuition and in their own instincts. That's so important. So many people expect other people to do the work for them. And, well, what do you think? And I think that's something we promote here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hopefully it's something that we're beginning to help with. That everybody seems to be, in a way, we're conditioned, seeking that teacher, that oracle. Am I on the right path? As Stephen said, probably the most asked questions in the last 100 years of spirit, you know. But the question is, do you think you're on the right path? Are you happy with who you are, where you are? Do you reproach yourself over things sometimes that you do in your life that you'd like to change? Can you be a bit grumpy? Can you be a bit this? On the other side, not all the bad stuff, on the good side, what do you like about yourself? What are your strengths? Are you a good leader? If you're not a good leader, are you good at supporting others who are leaders, which we need all those facets. And that's knowing who you are. And you can ask, of course you can ask spirit, you can ask mediums, but it's what sits right with you ultimately, and something we've always been taught. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Simple as
that. Absolutely. So let's have a look at our next thing that we promote at the centre, and it's to promote all aspects of mediumship, such as physical mediumship, trance mediumship, and clairvoyance as ways of proving life after life.
Okay, so well, that's spot on, and it's a fundamental. The number one port of call in this work is to prove life after death, or life after life. Really, that's what we said. The continuation of the spirit. That one day, this physical body that I'm in will pass. It will go, but what is within me, my spirit, who I am, will live on. It will move on. It's eternal, and we all have different ways of having that proved to us. That's what's interesting. What works for one doesn't for another. I know a lot of people who've received some fantastic evidential messages from spirit through mediums. I've had others who say, I don't feel drawn to go to clairvoyance nights, but I'm very drawn to trance mediumship, physical mediumship. So again, what you're drawn to, healing can prove spirit in many, many ways. So I feel that's the first job of a medium to me, is not always to say if you should buy a car, if it's red or green or what, whichever, is to firstly prove that there is life after death. And as me and Steve quite often say, we're not talking to the wall, we're talking to your parents, your grandparents here, and to give that evidence. Absolutely. And so that's a fundamental. So I feel that's the first stop for most people. And once they start to open them doors and go, yeah. But I do find most people, once they open up, they've all had experiences with spirit in some form or an inkling.
Spot on, yeah.
Yeah. That one, right? Yeah. So I lost track. Went off on another road.
So let's have a look at the next one. So to promote the protection of Mother Earth and all plant life. And I like to start off with that. Yeah, I'm extremely passionate about that. I think why I think that is so relevant in today's society is to a very simple spiritual truth. The Earth is a creator planet. The Earth is a spirit, and the Earth's vibrations have lowered that much that there's so much war and destruction and famine and hurt and pain and trauma that a lot of lower spirits have imprinted on the Earth. And it's now time of a new awakening where places like the Purple Mountain, people like us, millions of us across the world, that are sending that love and that light to the Earth, that she's able to lift the vibration so that finally we can all live in bloody peace, love and harmony for once. That's what I say. Have we not had enough of war? Have we not had enough of bloodshed and hurt and pain? That's what I say. In all plant life, I think, I mean, I was talking, we were discussing this earlier on, weren't we, Chris, about the Amazon rainforest. I think when the Amazon rainforest last year was burning, and I don't think enough people were doing anything about it, I think Mother Earth has said enough's enough now.
Yeah, I think that was what we call the straw that brought the camels back. It really was, because when we talk about Mother Earth and respecting Mother Earth and all she gives, and everything we take should always be replaced, replenished, so it's forever. And something myself and Stephen have discovered in the past couple of years are the benefits of herbs and also of plant medicines as well, which we'll be speaking when we do an interview with Lewis Powell. He'll be our guest on Wednesday. And that's going to be really interesting. But so we'll continue to learn. So I actually feel, I don't know if Stephen would agree, we've always known the importance of Mother Earth, but even understanding the plants and the medicines and many of the ancient ways that are still there. And you almost want to say, please, let's not lose any more than we have done already. Because the wonderful thing about this Earth is I truly believe if we turn things around, it can be healed. It'll heal itself if we leave it alone. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's so important. And we can all, wherever we are, I think, don't be overwhelmed what's happening in Australia or in the Amazon rainforest. We can all do something. And I always say, start by doing something in your garden. Build a hedgehog house, plant some wild seeds. If everybody does something to help Mother Earth, then that will be
a good one. Yeah, I mean, a good one as well is something, the bees as well, which we need. Okay, and even planting things like lavender and the plants that the bees are attracted to, and doing your little bits. Everybody does a little bit, and it all adds up to a lot, really.
Absolutely. So let me move on to our next one there, Chris, to promote the importance of protecting all animal life upon the earth plane.
Well, it links hand in hand, and it's respecting the animals just as much as we do one another. There isn't, again, we come back to this chain of that and that, which doesn't exist. If anything, I kind of feel the animals are a little bit ahead of us because they have total unconditional love. I know for a fact there have been many animals, not related to anybody I know, but I know of animals in the spirit world that have been mistreated here, and they will still wait with love for the owner to forgive them.
Absolutely.
Total unconditional love, which I feel mankind has still got a massive one to learn on that. And it doesn't come with conditions, simple as that. It doesn't come with, well, if you do this, I love you. It's unconditional love. And I feel that's what the animal kingdom have for us. And again, something that we've tinkered with. And we were talking, actually, me and Stephen, he knows a little bit more about this than me, about even cats being in this country. And Stephen's a cat lover, as everybody knows. But I've started quite getting into feeding birds and putting a lot of bird food out and paying more attention in the garden. And I've had to keep one of the local cats away. And Stephen was telling me about the cats, were moved into this country. And look what's happening. It's upsetting the system of things. So again, it's our tinkering with nature. And I know that's happened with other countries as well. Probably Stephen would be able to tell you a bit more.
Australia with the toads and all sorts.
Yeah, and it's if things are left alone, and it's hard. And it's not to say myself and Stephen are here. We tried to cut down on meat. I know Stephen went completely vegetarian for a good year there. And we try bit by bit. It can be very hard when you've been conditioned from birth. But we try and be kinder in what we're doing. But again, doing your bit, and it's hard not to judge others. But just look. Sometimes everybody says, "Well, you look at what they do in this country. Look at what they," and really, what we're doing is diverting away from our self-responsibility of what we're doing ourselves. That's where it all starts. So I try. For example, I'm not perfect. I still eat some meat. I try to cut down on it, but I try to be kinder to the wildlife in what I do, and in the plants that we put in the garden here at the Purple Mountain, in the way we respect the birds and their part, the way we even try to respect the insects, every part. So we try to build it up more and more, because in many ways, it's something that I won't do now, and it's personal choice. I don't want to put this on anybody else's. I personally won't visit zoos anymore because I feel they're prisons. And I know there's a lot of good people that work in zoos. I'm not saying that for one moment. It's not a judgment. Please don't take it as that. But I feel that it's not our job to, something quite current. Stephen will laugh at this when I say it. It's the Netflix show, The Tiger King. And I was absolutely shocked that all these tigers in these sanctuaries in America, and it's unbelievable. And I believe there's more in America in captivity than there is running wild at all across the world. It just shouldn't be. They should be left to it, like us. Everything takes care of itself. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, you can go very deep with this, can't you, with the animal stuff?
It's a little bit. Another big thing is what we were trying to do is as well look at your products that are tested on animals. That's a good start, and try and avoid them. I'm sure Stephen can remember a few off the top of his head.
I think it's the pink bunny. I think the pink bunny.
And also, just do your research on it. Another one is when we talk about the rainforest and such as palm oil. Another thing to be aware of. So you start to look what palm oil's in and maybe avoid them products, because it's very simple. If we don't buy it, we don't sell it.
Absolutely.
So a few little things.
So let's have a look at the last couple. To use the power of education to help change the world and to bring peace, love, and harmony in the hearts of all humanity. There's only one race, the human race.
Absolutely. I almost feel we want to be changing that to there's only we're all spirit in a way. The animals,
it's very simple. We're all spirit in a physical body. If you're black, white, if you're Chinese or African, you're American, it does not matter. With the way spirits see things, we're all one race.
And it's very simple. An easy way to control anyone is to divide us. We're always going to be stronger together. And the thing to remember is we talk about many a times our lands and things like this, but whose were they before we lived here? It actually all belongs to Mother Earth, and we're just, we're able to live here, live upon these lands freely. So loving each other is a big thing we need to learn. I think I've seen a lot of it since we've been in this lockdown, of people actually being a lot more respectful and kinder to each other, which is a huge positive. And maybe in this times when we've slowed down, starting to appreciate things. But as I did a writing the other night, saying we are the creators. So what I'd ask everybody is, what world do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a world where everybody's fighting for what they can get and snatching off each other and this is mine and that's yours? Or do you want to live in a world where people share and look after each other, and if they see somebody fall, they pick them up and help them?
Yeah. Brilliant. Fantastic. So let's have a look at the last two. This is probably one of the most important ones that we promote here at the centre, is promote the importance of and benefits of meditation. And we incorporate meditation in every aspect. You want to go on the path of any kind of spiritual work, if you're a healer, medium, learn about meditation, learn about how to breathe properly. And that's where a lot of our videos is guided meditations. Meditation is the stepping stone in self-realization, self-discovery, self-awakening. Everything about self starts with meditation. It's so powerful and so important, I believe. And you probably agree with that, Chris, as well.
Yeah, and don't forget there's many different forms of meditation. Something that I promote quite a lot is guided meditations, which are an excellent way of helping. Quite often people will say, struggle to switch off, struggle to switch them thoughts out. And there's a lot, if you have access to YouTube, or there's so many guided meditations just for 10 minutes. And what's 10 minutes? And just build it up from there. Tons of benefits.
So the last one, you probably all be happy now, everybody, is to promote a holistic approach to health and well-being, reconnecting humanity's light back to the source of all creation, which is unconditional love and truth. I think that's what we're all aiming to do, is to reconnect us all, because humanity, we've all been too fragmented. It's like Chris was on about being creators. We've not been creators. We've been destroyers of this earth. We should be reconnecting back to the source of all light and love. I think that's where we should all be heading. And we can do it if we all unite together in friendship, in forgiveness, in unconditional love. So I don't know if you want to add any more to that, Chris.
Just want to add that if you've got any questions, just pop them up on the comments. Just if you can be thinking of any, we're quite happy to answer that. But I think you hit the nail on the head, and they all run from one to another. But that connecting with each other and discovering who we truly are and starting to value ourselves, and something that was mentioned the other day that was posted as concern to a discussion was going on about mental health and the importance that there's not enough support for people with mental health, and for what it's worth, I completely agree. But wouldn't it be great to live in a world where somebody didn't find themselves in that place to begin with, where they were given that love or whatever they needed? And quite often, where does it come from? Mental health's on the uprising. People having struggle with depression, anxiety. Why is it all happening? It's because we're so suppressed in who we should be. And it's like we're ticking time bombs. Because inside, it's like our spirit was, God, this isn't me. And it's waiting to get out. And maybe if we lived in a world where we're encouraged through our schooling system, through our life, to be who we should be, creative, and be that creator, and show our love and not feel ashamed to show our vulnerability, which, and show our weaknesses, show our strengths. Perhaps we wouldn't get to that stage because it's sad. Anybody
I think overall, we need to look at the source of the pain, the trauma, and the hurt that is going on in all nations and all cultures, in all communities. There's so much hurt and pain. I think everything's masked with illusions, and I think let's say somebody comes for healing. And it's like a scar, big scar, and we're healing the scar, but it's keep weeping poison. So we're not actually healing the source of the trauma. We need to look at the source of mental health, the source of why so many people are in prisons. Why is there so many drug addicts? Why is there so much cancer? No one's really asking the right questions, the source of the hurt, the pain, and the trauma. That is where we should be. And that's why the spiritual side needs to be incorporated in all health and well-being, because it's just all physical. Not many places are incorporating the spiritual side.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a video today on YouTube, which I haven't shown Stephen yet. I was going to show him. And it's about a gentleman, and he used to be, what did they call it when they drop them? When they're in the army, and they dropped them like paratrooper, is it?
Yeah.
And he had damage to his legs and lower back, quite overweight at the end of it, because obviously he couldn't use his legs. And it was a video where he discovered a yoga teacher, and this yoga teacher had him working very slowly over months, and he would fall down and he would start the exercises, but over months he was told by doctors he would never walk properly again. But through this yoga teacher, he was able to move, start to stretch his body, start to get it working again. And by the end of the video, he was running. He was running along this road without crutches and without anything. And he was a different person. And isn't that a good example? I believe it's time to look outside the box, because there's many more solutions to things. I did read something the other night that I believe we're starting to see that. Quite often, we're given things to mask the problem, like Stephen said, and it's about whatever it is, really removing that problem and then letting the wound heal properly and moving on. Yeah,
absolutely. So I think we've got a question here, because we've gone over a little bit tonight. I think we've been really passionate about what we believe in. Joanna Cox asked, after a physical mediumship sitting, how do you feel? What, if anything, do you remember?
Oh, that's interesting. Shall I go first?
Yeah, I'll go first with this one.
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, I can't really say about the how do I feel after the physical. What I can say is normally as a sitter, sitting with a physical mediumship, because the sitters are equally important to the physical medium, is that I feel extremely physically hungry after a physical sitting. Chris will laugh. I'm starving after a physical, because
you don't want to know what we eat when we turn the cameras off, and we get all these freshly made cookies out that Stephen's partner very nicely makes for us all.
I know. So how do you feel? Physically very, very hungry, but on a trance night, if it's what I call regular spirits, people like Albert Little Raven, spirits that work with me regularly, I don't feel too tired. But when there are new spirits that have to change my vibrations or have to change their vibrations to work with me, use more energy. So if I do a trance reading, that very, very, very much tires me. I feel very exhausted. That's why a lot, myself and Chris, we have to do a lot of preparations before meditation, eat properly, a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of commitment there. That's why anybody that wants to get into this work is, you know, think about it very, very hard. A lot of dedication, a lot of discipline, a lot of discipline. So do I remember anything? I have in the past remembered things, little snippets. I generally don't listen back to the tape, listen back to video for personal reasons. I know Anita never did either. I just get relayed. I do listen. Margaret, she's one of the founder members. She very gracefully, very luckily transcribes about 70% of our trans sittings, and I will read through them, which I prefer doing that. So that's just me. So I don't know about you, Chris.
On the physical side, Stephen was right. A lot of preparation in the day, meditation, not eating anything too heavy, plenty of water, plenty of rest. After the sitting, at one time early on, I might remember little bits, but I don't remember anything now when I come back. You're sort of reliant. We'll, as we said, after we'll have a cup of tea and some biscuits, and we'll have a chat and we'll relay what's happened. But after the 2 nights I did together, the physical nights, with the physical work, I do feel quite depleted afterward. Trance, not so much so, if that makes sense. Your energies do drop a bit. But I also find after physical mediumship, I always crave something quite sugary, like quick energy, if that makes sense. But I will find I'll sleep.
Do you remember when we looked at the mechanics of trance? And I remember a lot of it is to do with the pancreas, isn't it? The pancreas and the liver,
yes, I remember that.
The sugars that the spirit have to use the voice box and manifest in healing. So so when we look at the science side of trance mediumship, it uses a lot of those mechanics, doesn't it? Hence why sometimes you feel like you want to eat something sugary because of the amount of energy that is used.
Spot on. So should we move on to our next question? Because I can see it.
Yeah, the next question.
This is a good one for you. It's from Jenny. So hello to Jenny and Hugo. And it's, can you enlighten us on it'd be Sequazer last night who spoke?
Yeah, it wasn't Quasar. That's another spirit friend. Sequazer. Sequazer is a friend from another world. People say an alien friend. We don't like using that word. It's friends from the world. I don't actually know too much about Sequazer. He's worked with us for quite a long time, and the struggle. That's why the voice goes very deep, and they use a lot of what we call water energy, hydro energy. Hence why we made so much water. So I don't know if Chris might have to correct me here, that he comes on a very wet energy, don't he, Sequazer?
Correct.
And that's why when we create the physical room, sometimes the condition seems very wet. So what we call wet energy.
Cold and damp.
Yeah, so he's somebody that normally comes, he loves Christmas, he loves all the lights that the humans put out. He loves the different lights, so it must fascinate them, the different lights. And that's why he always says jingle bells, because he recognizes he wants us to have lights out all the time. So I don't know if you want to add any more to that, Chris.
No, that's good. You've answered that well. Yeah, in simple form, he's a friend from other worlds who we have been lucky enough to communicate with. And yeah.
So let's answer one more question. Do you have any advice, Chris, on meditating for people who have overactive minds? Now, how many people do we know with that?
Oh, lots of. I have an overactive mind sometimes. Do you know, as I was looking at the question, a simple one comes back to me, which is a very good one, is to light a candle on the table or wherever you're sitting. And where you sat in meditation, if you sit and look at that candle before you start, and then close your eyes and try and keep your focus as if that candle's still there when you close your eyes in your mind's eye. And what that will do is it'll keep you disciplined. And if you find yourself drifting, go back to the candle. That's a very good one. But the other thing I will say, which is a bit of my experience in the past, is sometimes if something comes into your mind, like I've got to go shopping tomorrow, instead of trying to think, I need to push that out and giving it all your energy, then just let it roll, if that makes sense. Just go with it, and sooner or later it will run its course and clear your mind. So sometimes we can overexert too much energy trying to push the thing that's distracting us to one side. But if we actually just roll with it and let it run its course, and then it'll clear up most of the time. But try the candle one. That's
right.
very good.
My advice to you, Nicole, is breathing. A breathing exercise is another tool, another crutch. Breathing is the stepping stone to meditation. So if you want to learn to go deeper, remember there's different levels of meditation. You want to go deep in your meditation, do the breathing exercises. We do lots in the Kaihana. You're in the Kaihana. Once we're back open, we go back to some of the videos that we've done on the Purple Mountain page. Lots of breathing exercise, and that will be the stepping stone. But my other advisement is don't expect to learn meditation over just doing it once a week. It consists of commitment and discipline. You got to commit yourself every day and set yourself a time every day. I know it's easy to say, oh, I can't be bothered today. Well, I do 10 minutes every day. Well, if you can't be bothered, then don't bother meditating. That sounds quite hard. And the other
discipline, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a discipline. A couple of things is don't have an expectation. Don't expect to go really deep and see things. Just go with it. Go with the flow, the river, and just sit and just be you. Just sit in the energy. Just be you. Do some breathing, and what will be, will be. Don't be so hard on yourself. Sometimes you will have an overactive mind. Sometimes you'll have a deep meditation. That is just life. We've got human frailties that sometimes will wash over us. But just be you, Nicole, and don't have an expectation, if that makes sense. So I think that's our questions, Chris. I think what we're going to say, because it's been over an hour and a half. When we say,
we've done well. It's gone well, this. Yeah, it's gone all right. I hope you've all enjoyed it.
Yes, just a couple of things. There's no videos tomorrow, but we are doing another live interview run by Chris and myself on Wednesday night, and we will be doing it with a good friend of ours, Lewis Powell. And he's a Kambo shamanic practitioner, a huge perspective on what's happening in the world today, about the virus, a very, very knowledgeable person. And he will be interviewed by us, and hopefully that'll be 60 minutes or an hour and a half. And hopefully that'll be just as interesting. So tonight, thank you very much for being patient with us. Keep supporting. Thank you very much for those donations as well. They're very, very welcome. Thank you for donating to our GoFund page. And I don't know if you want to add anything else before we say goodbye.
The only thing I want to add is just about the Talk Wednesday. If anybody finds themselves in need of a bit of enlightenment, of knowledge, if you're feeling a bit confused or lost in the situation we are now, please tune in on Wednesday, because I can say from personal experience, a lot of knowledge that Lewis brings forward and speaks about can bring a lot of clarity, and again, not always giving you specific answers, but just clearing and giving you the tools to find your answers. So it will be a very interesting talk. Very interesting. We're up to more and more.
Absolutely. So for myself and Chris, we say goodbye to you. Lots of love.
Bye, everyone.